Another political firestorm, this time involving Senator Rodante Marcoleta, as he claims looming plunder charges are meant to silence him and keep him out of the Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial. But the office of the Ombudsman fires back, denying the existence of a political hit job and insisting that the plunder charge is part of a wider crackdown on corruption. And from the courtroom to the streets, thousands of Iglesia Ni Cristo members paralyzed EDSA in a flash rally in support of Senator Marcoleta, triggering road closures and heavy traffic. Good evening, you're watching Political Beat. I'm Lourdes de Vera. Members of the Iglesia Ni Cristo continue to gather at the EDSA People Power Monument to show support for Senator Marcoleta. And for the latest, let's bring in mobile journalist Jazz Paredes. Jazz, has the INC already secured a permit this time?
Yes, Lord, kanina nga lamang ay nakita natin na inilabas na ng Quezon City Government ang permit ng INC na magsagawa ng rally bukas at nakalagay dito, the event is a peaceful rally for July 1, 2026. May nakalagay dito, it's extendable upon request and approval. At yung kanilang rally, no, ang nakalagay is mula 8 a.m. hanggang 8 p.m. Dito yan sa White Plains Avenue mula Temple Drive hanggang excluding na ito ng People Power Monument. So ngayon, ang nakalagay dito sa isa sa mga terms ay hindi dapat mag-exit sa 100,000 katao ang mag-umpisa sa rally bukas.
May permit pero hindi ba may bahagi dyan nasa Pasig na o Mandaluyong ba?
Sa ngayon, Lord, ito sa pag-educate mo itong EDSA, ay lumagpas na nga dito sila sa may bahagi ng ilang lanes ng EDSA dito sa aking likuran. Although sa permit, ang nakalagay dito that all parked vehicles should be removed at the EDSA and White Plains Avenue. We can presume na hindi pa ito na-apply for now dahil binibay din natin to, Lord, ito nga kahabaan ng EDSA. Tinignan natin yung kasalukuyang sitwasyon at itong mga part na mga bus and mga sasakyan ay na-occupy nga nila yung ilang lanes ng EDSA. And yung nadadaanan lang for now is yung EDSA bus lane at isang lane northbound and southbound. Although MRT naman is wala naman, hindi naman siya affected. But sa ngayon, nakikita natin na nag-exceed niya dahil as of now, 13,000 and above na yung ating crowd estimate according na rin yan sa NCRPO and PNP estimate.
Alright, ano ang nangyayari ngayon pagkatapos ba ng program? May balak bang mag-overnight dyan ang mga tao? Kasi based on the installation of portalets, mukhang may balak talagang magtagal.
Yes, sir. Dahil sana kayo inibot dito sa itsura sa likuran ko dahil medyo nga lang madilim at may, dito lang sa portion natin may ilaw. Pero kung makikita nyo sa likuran ko, meron yung mga naka-portalets na naka-ready. And bukod dyan, Lord, sabi mo nga, ano bang ina-expect natin? Are they going home after the program or they will stay? Although, Lord, hindi tayo nakakuha ng interview from the rallies themselves na nag-review sila magbigay ng pahayag. But we presume na mag-stay na lang sila until tonight dahil ang ilan sa kanya ngayon na natin natutulog na sa mga buses. And meron na rin mga nag-set up na mga tent, naglagay na rin sila ng sapin. So we can presume na yung ilan sa kanila, maybe not all, but hindi na uuwi at dito na mag-stay para antayin naman yung start ng rally for tomorrow, Lord.
Okay. So, Jazz, kanina ka pang umaga nandyan sa area, no? Napansin mo ba, mas nadadagdagan ng mga tao, may umaalis ba? At nagbabago ba ang tono ng kanilang mga placards?
Yes, Lord, no. Kung obserbahan natin, dito tayo simula umaga and it's around 7 p.m. na ng gabi. So, nung nag-start tayo noong umaga, ay kukunti pa lamang yung mga tao. Medyo maluwag pa nga actually itong likuran natin. At yung kanilang estimate, nag-6,000, 7,000, bandang 4 p.m., 2 p.m., naging 10,000. And ngayon, we're at 13,000 and above. Kung makikita natin, Lord, isa sa tanong mo, kung nagbabago ba, nung nagbabago, may mga pagkakataon lang na medyo lumuluwag yung kalsada kasi paulan-ulan, Lord eh. Actually, hanggang ngayon medyo maambon pa ng onte, pero dahil nga medyo umuulan, may mga sumisilaw for a while, pero hindi sila natitinag, meron mga payong silang dala, naka-ready, and yung tone ng kanilang rally, we can say na it's more calmer in the morning, yun ang ating presumption, dahil ngayon medyo mas vocal na sila at mas intense yung kanilang panawagan ngayon habang papalapit ang gabi dahil nga syempre the program nag-iiba yan mula umaga hanggang gabi, although isa yung kanilang panawagan ikulong ang mga mandarambong at tunay na mandarambong at ang kanilang panawagan at hindi si Senator Rodante Marcoleta ang dapat na makulong, maging patas, maging fair, at bigyan daw ng hustisya ang taong bayan. Although it's the same message, but sa masasabi ka natin, Lord, mas intense or mas malakas o mas powerful yung message na sinasend nila tonight, Lord.
Okay, sino-sino na ang nagbigay ng mga talumpati dyan? At may balak bang magbigay ng talumpati o umattend o magpakita si Senador Rodante Marcoleta?
Yes, Lord. Simula kaninang umaga, ang ilan sa mga personalidad na nakita natin, si dating Congressman Mike Defensor, nagbigay siya ng talumpati kanina. Kanina rin dumating si Batangas First District Leandro de Viste at kanina rin ay dumating nga si Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano. Meron ding mga ilan pang mga attorneys, hindi pa lang natin nakuha yung kanilang pangalan. But so far, sila yung mga personalities na nakita natin na talagang nag-gain or yung nagpahayag ng kanilang suporta dito sa rally. Actually, nakapanayam nga din natin si dating Congressman Mike Defensor at nakikisama daw siya dito sa rally dahil ayon nga sa kanya, kanilang ikinagulat itong isasampangan ng ombudsman na bakit daw hindi yung mga tunay na mandarambong ang kasuhan. At kanya pa nga sinabi na nakakagulat daw na itong si DPWH Secretary Manny Bonoan, dating DPWH Secretary Manny Bonoan, ay gagawing state witness. Ay hindi raw ito makatarungan dahil kung sino pa raw ito malumalaman sa katiwalian, ay sila pa raw ito ang ikukulong. So yun yung kanyang pinahayag sa atin kanina. Pero overall, ang general message nila to the public ay labanan ang korupsyon at yun nga, be fair and be accountable at yung posisyon nga ang kanilang kahilingan. At sa kanilang tanong, kung dadating si Senador Rodante Marcoleta, actually, simula kaninang hapon, nakita natin merong mga nagka-capit visit anticipating the arrival of Senator Rodante Marcoleta. Hapon pa yun kanina. Then medyo pa yung crowd. May mga tip or may mga announcement dito sa program na possible and we're anticipating his arrival. Pagdating naman sa talumpati, I think we can presume na kung darating man siya, ay makakanilig tayo ng talumpati mula sa Senador.
Pwede mong i-swivel Jazz saglit lang yung camera para makita lang natin. Alam ko medyo madilim, ano? Pero baka sakali lang pwede natin masilip yung kasalukuyang sitwasyon kasi yung mga niro-roll natin medyo kanina pa yon, ano?
Yes,
Posible
sir.
ba, Jazz?
Sana makita natin, but best effort, Lord, no? Pakaipan natin yung kasalukuyang sitwasyon. Medyo madilim lang, pero kung makikita nyo, may mga nakapayong na release patuloy pa rin kahit malakas ang ulan. Nandito pa rin yung mga buses, tourist bus, yung ilan dyan, nag-stay. Diba, nasa labas na. At nandito pa rin yung ilan sa mga personnel for security measures. At ongoing pa rin yan until now. Kahit pa basa na yung kalsada, may mga nakahiga pa nga sa kalsada na nakita natin, binabaybay natin. But ito yung crowd natin, siksikan pa rin at napakarami pa rin talaga na nandito until now, Lord.
Okay, Jazz. Sa ikalawang araw bukas, ano ang aasahan natin sa gathering?
Yes, Lord. Sa ngayon, hindi pa natin alam ano yung natin. Ngunit extra daw, sabi ng Temple Drive, the activity at ang kanilang nakalagay din ay cleanliness and orderliness shall be maintained at all times. Until 8 p.m. gagawin ito nga rally, 100,000 lamang yung exceed, hindi pa din mag-exceed sa 100,000 yung crowd. At sabi dito, the clearance may be revoked or cancelled oras na non-compliance will be observed sa rally tomorrow. But for now, we're expecting that the rally will be more peaceful and organized following
All right, we seem to have lost Jazz Paredes. In any case, maraming salamat sa ulat mo, Jazz Paredes, live from the EDSA Shrine. More stories ahead when Political Beat returns. All right, images from EDSA looking like a December lantern. And you're still watching Political Beat. I'm Lourdes De Vera. Bloody is how Senate President Win Gatchalian describes what would be a rather interesting debate on reconciling the two versions of the anti-political dynasty bill. And for some perspective, we are fortunate to be with us in the studio a man who spent many, many years studying the whole, I would say, fat and thin developments, perspectives from the LSU Political Science Professor, Dean Julio Tehanqui. Sir, great to have you finally here, sir. Well, thank you. Welcome to Political Beat.
Finally, Lord, thank you very much for having me. It's an honor and congratulations on your new show.
Thank you, Dean Tehanqui.
Yes.
Medyo ninenervyos po
Ay,
ako.
huwag naman.
All right. So, first question.
Yes.
You've studied these dynasties for decades. So,
Yes.
are today's dynasties fundamentally different from, let's say, what they were in the 70s and the 80s? More
Yes.
professional ba sila? More media savvy?
Yes. Well, first of all, no, na-mention mo that I've been studying the issue of political families or political clans and dynasties. I've been teaching, I've been in the academe for 35 years already. No? So, practically my entire academic career, I've been looking into this issue of political dynasties and political clans. And I'm very much invested because it was the topic of my doctoral dissertation. No? So I completed my doctoral studies in 2000. So 26 years I've been looking at this topic. And, there are recent developments, which is, of course, good. No? And nakakataba ng puso na at least kahit konti, meron tayong nakikita, pero hindi pa rin ito yung dynasty, yung sagot do sa issue ng political dynasties. Because essentially, political dynasty refers to political families or political clans, which is at the center of our life as Filipinos. No? And, political dynasties, they emerge, they dominate, they decline, and oftentimes they disappear. No? So, when you refer to political dynasties kasi, ito ay yung concentration, consolidation, and perpetuation of power in a political family. So, throughout time, no, kasi from the very beginning, no, as yung society natin in the past, no, focus so much on the lowest level of social organization, which is the family. Now, the problem is, compared to other political systems that have evolved and advanced from that family-centered social organization to a more complex and modern political organization, such as the state. No? Unfortunately, our state is still centered on family and the interests of family. Ngayon, maganda sana kung pamilya ng buong bansa. Ang problema sa dynasty, ang interest lang ng iilang pamilya ang nasusunod. So, doon sa tanong mo kung nagbago na, syempre nagbago yan. No? Kasi meron din namang pagpabago sa lipunan. Pero unlike in the past, in which political families essentially emerged from their economic interest, which was land, no? Feudalism, no? Then later on, nag-advance na yan. No? So ngayon, medyo iba na feudal pa rin pero with capitalist characteristics, no? So it's feudal but capitalist, but it is still also based on the economic and social interest, no? Palagi ko nga sinasabi sa mga estudyante ko, hindi ba niyo napapansin na there is a fundamental link between the local economy and the dominance of political families, no? Tinatanong ko, pag umuwi kayo sa probinsya nyo, sino may-ari ng franchise ng mga fast food? Sino may-ari ng grocery? Sino may-ari ng gasolina? Kung hindi yan kamag-anak ng local politicians, no? Yung mga local politicians themselves.
Pero, Dean, your research count they count dynasties, ano? But
Yes.
how do you measure quality? Economic lang ba? Kasi may magsasabi na may political families that actually outperform non-dynastic politicians.
Definitely. Oo. Kasi nga, because they have one thing na yung ibang politicians do not have, no? That is monopoly. No? So yung una-una, they have incumbency advantage, no? Kasi based on a study, no, from one of the faculty of UP Diliman, no, si Alicor Panao, no, napansin niya na halimbawa sa Kongreso, no, pag may na-elect na mga members ng dynasty, sa first term nila, masigasig yan, no? Ang daming bills na ini-introduce, nag-a-attend ng mga committee hearing, no? But once they are re-elected, no, sila ay bumababa yung productivity, tapos they focus on just distributing yung tinatawag nating pork barrel or yung modern manifestation ng pork barrel ay yung ayuda. Di ba? So, ang tawag dyan yung power principle. No? Power begets power. The longer a politician stay in power, the more he or she is interested in passing it through to his next of kin. No? At lalo na, nung naglagay tayo kasi ng term limit, nung una kasi, yung term limit was supposed to limit the powers of these dominant politicians. Pero anong nangyari? Dahil nag-term limit, pero walang anti-political dynasty na regulation, dumami ngayon lalo ang dynasty. Kasi nagkaroon ng incentive. Halimbawa, si Dada, no, ay long-time governor na term limit. Tapos nagbukas pa yung nabakante yung Kongreso dahil may na term limit. Tumakbo siyang Congress, yung anak niya ngayon ang umakyat ng governor. No? So, lalong dumami yung dynasty. Ngayon, dahil nga may incumbency advantage sila, syempre, merong mga lugar na probinsya, yung tinatawag nating stationary bandits, no, sa economics, no. Siyempre, nasa interest din nung mga predatory families na umunlad yung negosyo dun sa lugar nila kasi sila rin makikinabang. No? So, talagang magkakaroon ng correlation between development and dynasties in that region.
Okay. Is there evidence that the younger members of dynasties govern differently from their parents?
Ay, nako. Diyan ako nagkamali. Kasi doon sa dissertation ko, isa yun sa mga assumptions ko. No? Kasi yung dissertation ko covered the first batch of members of political families nung first na nagkaroon ng term limits under the 1987 Constitution. And this was after the 1998 elections. No? At ito yung during the 11th Congress, dito pumasok itong mga dynasties na ngayon ay senior na, lalo na sa Senado, yung mga nag-aagawan sa pwesto ngayon. Ito yung nagsimula sila as freshman legislators. No? And nung time na yon, because they were young, they were educated abroad, no? Ang kakala ko, no, na parang mas progressive sila. Lo and behold, no, more than two decades later, no, they ended up worse than their father, worse than their parents. No? So, mas trapo pa sila sa magulang nila.
Considering sila yung mga pinag-aral ng mga parents, supposedly.
Yes. So, yun nga, no, ang naalala kong analogy dito, remember sa Godfather, no, the Corleone family. Ang gusto ni Don Vito, mag-legitimize si Michael. No? Nag-end up na mas vicious pa si Michael kaysa kay Don Vito. No? So, ganun ang nangyayari ngayon. No? So, ngayon, nakikita natin yan dahil ang daming mga batang politiko, no? Lalong-lalo na sa Kamara. No? Yung iba sa kanila promising at very impressive. I just hope na hindi sila matulad dito sa previous batches of formerly young progressive politicians who turned out to be trapos in the end.
Nako.
Diba?
May ganyan, di ba? Yung isang grupo dati ng mga batang kongresista.
Dalawang grupo.
Dalawang grupo.
Dalawang grupo.
May isang may anghang, may isa ay may liwanag. Pero pareho silang
Yung isa palaman, di ba?
naligaw ng landas.
Oo. Tama. Yeah.
Okay. So interesting yan, ano?
Yeah, yeah.
You would think that
Yes.
ma-enlighten sila.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nakakalungkot
Yun
naman
nga,
yun.
no? Kasi may iba't ibang typology or classification ng dynasty. Of course, yung mga nag-aaral ng science, alam na nila ito, no? Yung pinauso ito nila Dean Ron Mendoza, former Dean of Ateneo, no? Yung kasi may dalawang klase nga ng dynasty, no? Yung traditional kasi natin na pagkaintindi sa kasaysayan, yung pinapasa lang sunod-sunod, no? Yung tinatawag nating
Tin and fat.
successive or tin dynasty, no? So ito yung problema na na-recognize na ng members ng 1986 Constitutional Commission na nagbalangkas ng ating saligang batas at naglagay ng anti-dynasty provision. Nakita nila na merong ang tendency na magkaroon ng pasa-pasa. No? So naglagay sila. Pero nung nagkaroon ng term limits pero iniwan nila sa Kongreso ang pag-define ng dynasty, doon tayo nagkaroon ng problema. Kasi ngayon nagkaroon na nung sabay-sabay or simultaneous, yung tinatawag na fat dynasty. Ngayon, throughout the post-EDSA period, dumami sila na hindi na sila fat, no? More than 5 members of the same clan holding simultaneous national, local, or even appointive office. Ang tawag ko na dyan, obese.
Oo.
No?
Atake na sa puso yun.
Hindi to fat shaming, no? This is a health
Opo.
metaphor.
At least, wala namang yung dynasty ang tinutukoy dito.
This is a health
At sa mga
metaphor.
tumututol dyan, wala, bato-bato sa langit.
Ano lang to, no? Kumbaga, it is bad for the health of our democracy.
Yes.
Kasi yung dynasty, parang yung cholesterol na nagkaklag sa artery ng power. And in a genuine democracy, the health of our democracy relies on the circulation of elites. No? Yung, alimbawa, non-elite ka, dapat may pagkakataon ka o oportunidad na makapasok sa elite circle and vice versa. No? So yun ang nagpapatakbo sa ating demokrasya, yung ganung konsepto, no? Circulation of elites. No? Ngayon, pag puro dynasty lang at puro pamilya lang yan, walang pagkakataon ang isang matalinong bata sa isang probinsya na nagsikap at may pangarap para sa bayan niya na makapasok din sa corridors of power.
Meron ho bang pinaliwanag ang mga framers ng ating consti why they left it to Congress to craft an anti-dynasty law?
Yes.
May isa ako narinig sa sinasabi, we never thought that they could abuse it to this level.
Yes.
Parang
Yan si Chairman, Commissioner Christian Monsod, no? Former COMELEC Chair. No? And in fact, he was right in the middle of the debate. No? Kasi parang, I think, no? Parang nanalo lang yung pro-dynasty ban by 1 vote at sa kanya galing yun. Kasi originally, tutol siya kasi ang konsepto niya ng democracy, you should not be penalized because of your surname. No, in a real democracy, elected naman yan. And these are the usual excuse or reasons na ginagamit ng miyembro ng political license. Hindi naman kami dynasty, elected kami, and bakit kami mapipinalize, binoboto kami ng tao.
yan. Yan ang lagi
Sige,
number 1.
puntahan muna natin yung nangyari sa CONCOM. No? So sabi ni ni Commissioner Monsod, noong una yun yung position niya. Tapos nagkaroon ng break sa debate, tapos kinausap siya ng mga kasama niya at na-convince siya na lagyan ng anti-dynasty ban. No? So he broke the tie, 1 vote lang, pumasa. Kaso matindi yung debate kasi ang nag-introduce niyan was a very famous constitutionalist, si Jose Noliedo. No? At siya ang nag-introduce niyan. Una, in-introduce niya yan sa local government article, pero hindi pumasa. In-introduce nila yan sa Declaration of State Principle. Mas mataas, Article 2. No? So, naipasa. Kaso, hindi nila ma-define yung dynasty dahil nga sa debate, they left it to Congress to define. Ngayon, yung sabi ni Commissioner Monsod, we overestimated EDSA and we underestimated the greed of the politicians. No? So, ngayon, syempre, hindsight is always 2020. Ngayon, nandyan na yan, no? Dumami na. Ngayon, ang sa akin lang, palagi ko sinasabi, you know, you left the important task of defining dynasty sa mga dynas. No? The house is a house of clans, no? House of dynasty. It's like asking Dracula to guard the blood bank.
Yes.
No? Bantay sa laka yan. No? So talagang, ayun, inupuan na lang. Inupuan, dinibol ng dinibol. No? And the only time, there were 2 times na kumontik ng pumasa ito. No? Ang unang-unang nag-introduce na anti-dynasty provision was then Senator Teofisto Ginggona. No? Hindi rin pumasa nung early parts ng Congress. No? Then later on, nung panahon ni President Noynoy Aquino, it was part of his program. Kasi kung walang kurap, walang mahirap, di ba? So, tuwid na daan. No? It was part of his platform. And I was one of those who helped him draft that platform. So, alam kong nandun yun. In fact, nung second to the last SONA ni Pinoy, pinangako niyang ipapasa niya. Kaso nga, eleksyon. May manok ang mga liberal. So they had to deal with the dynasty. So talagang pinark muna nila. Ngayon, ano nangyari? Di syempre, the next administration, na-wipe out ang mga liberals. No? Dahil nga hindi nila tinulak yung mga reforms na katulad nito. Ngayon, nung panahon naman ni President Duterte, nag-attempt siya magtulak through yung kanyang yung Puno Commission, no? Yung Consultative Commission. Doon naman, it's like a big bang reform na nakasakay doon sa kanyang political project ng federalism. Ako, naimbitahan sumama, but sumama ako para maitulak ko yung mga political and electoral reforms. And I was, I served as the chair of the Committee on Political and Electoral Reform. Sa Consultative Commission ng Puno Commission, na itulak namin lahat yung anti-dynasty and all the reforms. Kaso, nung pinasa namin kay President Duterte, tinignan lang niya, tapos nag-photo op na. That was it. No? So, kasi nga, I don't think that the elites would legislate themselves out of power. No? So, kailangan yan, may pressure from the people. At kailangan may incentive for them to work for this reform dahil sobrang tindi ng public opinion against it. At nangyari ito nung flood control scandal. Diba? Na si President BBM mismo ang naging whistleblower sa sarili niyang administration. At dahil nagpanik ang mga elites back then, nag-isip sila na, oy, kailangan natin mangako ng package of reforms. At nung LEDAC, last year, mag-iisang taon na, 2 ang political reform package na prioritize ni BBM. One is the anti-dynasty and the second one is the party list. Doon sa anti-dynasty, akala natin itutulak kasi nagkaroon ng big rollout ang lower house, ang Senado, ikot-ikot pa sila, nag-public consultation.
Roadshow, tawag nila.
Roadshow. Lahat yan sinalihan ko. Lahat ng imbitasyon ng Senate at ng House, pumunta ako. Hoping that they will really come out with a practicable, workable, and genuine anti-political dynasty law. Sa House, ang dami-dami, more than 30 bills ang kinonsider. No? Sa Senate, around 20. No? Anong nangyari? Yung nilabas na House version ay yung pinakamalabnaw at watered down at pinakamaraming loophole.
Okay, kung sinasabi nila, yung House Bill 9906 versus yung sa version ng Senado 2090, sinasabi ni Senate President Win Gatchalian na maging madugo daw, no? Yung magiging debate dito, yung pag-reconcile ng dalawa. At this point, pwede ba tayo mag-settle? Kunyari na, well, wala tayong magagawa, pero better than nothing.
Okay. Sige. That's a good question. No? Kasi after more than 25 years no, nang walang nangyayari, at least may first step, miski konti. No? May ganong school of thought na sinasabi, better than nothing. Ang problema ko sa ganyan, no, balikan natin yung party list. No? Na pinag-uusapan
Eksakto.
din. No? Balikan natin yung party
Yung
list.
NAMFREL po ba pinuntahan ninyo kanina?
Hindi, it's the Presidential Legislative
Ay,
Liaison
opo.
Office,
Nga pala.
PLLO. No, kasi sila yung naghahanda dahil next na sa agenda after nung watered down na anti-dynasty. Ito namang watered down party list. I hope it's not watered down. No? Kasi just like the anti-dynasty bill nung sa House, it's the Speaker himself together with the Majority Floor Leader Sandro Marcos who introduced the bill. Now, out of the 30-plus bills na inintroduce, no, yun yung pinakamahina. Maraming mas maganda. Pero nag-decide sila na yun ang ipasa. Di ba? Ngayon, to be fair to Majority Floor Leader and Presidential son Sandro Marcos, in an interview, he said, I'm an idiot if I don't say na hindi ako miyembro ng political dynasty. You have to give it to the guy. No?
I
At
like his
least,
honesty.
Oo, honesty, forthrightness, no, sinabi niya. At hanggang dyan lang kami. Ang hope niya, aayusin ng Senado yan. No? And yeah, tignan natin. Kasi doon naman sa version ng Senado ay yung version ni then chair of the committee ng electoral reforms ay si
Robin Hood Padilla.
Risa Hontiveros.
Risa Hontiveros. Okay.
At kasama rin ako sa na-consult doon at ikukumpara mo yung dalawang version, hindi perfect, hanggang second degree pa rin yung ban, pero mas workable. Kasi ina-address yung sabay-sabay at yung sunod-sunod. No? Dito kasi sa version ng House, walang mention of the sunod-sunod. Pwede. Tapos ang ginawa nila, jurisdictional. Kumbaga, national, provincial, local, house, no? No two or more members of the same family can run at every level. Pero,
Pwede ba?
sa umpisa, titingnan mo, okay, no? Pero, halimbawa sa house, wala namang magkapatid, magkamag-anak, usually. Meron, pero hindi kadalasan na naglalaban para sa same
May alam ako mag-ama
congressional seats.
sa Bicol.
Meron, oo. Pero hindi
Hindi palagi.
Hindi palagi, no? So pag inisip mo, una mong babasa, galing ah. Pero in fact, hindi siya anti-dynasty, pro-dynasty siya.
Yes.
Kasi kung papayagan mo yan, parang nilegitimize mo pa
Yes.
yung dynasty.
Yun yung
At
sinasabi.
pwede silang magpatakbo ng hanggang 30 at magpanalo ng hanggang 15. Di ba? Parang hindi, no? So, talagang malabo.
Lilipat lang ng address yung iba.
Yung iba, pwede lumipat na address. So, at least, doon sa Senado, yung Senate version, walang ganun. So, hopefully, kaya sinabi ni Senate President Win siguro na madugo, talagang kung paano nila ngayon, i-reconcile, no? Hopefully, doon sa signal ni Congressman Sandro Marcos na
Bahala
hahayaan
na
na
kayo.
nila yung Senado at alam naman nila na hindi maganda yung nailabas nila. No? So hopefully, ngayon may isa pang alternative dyan. No? So kami, I'm part of this group, Anti-Dynasty Network, no? Na composed of civil society organization and academic members of the academe and members of political dynasty. No? Kasama namin dito. Isa sa mga co-convener namin, si Mayor Vico Soto. No? So member ng dynasty.
In
At
a
saka
way.
sila Kiko D, and even Lino Cayetano, no? Kasama namin dito. No?
Okay, interesting.
So these are the more progressive minded dynasties who are anti-dynasty. So we believe na siguro hanggang Senado i-push pa natin, i-lobby natin, bantayan natin, no? At kung hindi, may alternative. Alternative naman, there's another group, dapat isa lang, no?
Yes.
Ito naman, member ng church and civil society organization and different people's organization na nagtutulak naman ng People's Initiative. No? Kung ayaw natin yung ipapasang batas, idiretso natin sa taong bayan through a signature campaign. No? So these are all alternatives. Ngayon, bakit ako hindi sold na basta meron? Kasi tignan mo yung nangyari sa party list.
Yes.
No? Again, yung party list na yan was introduced to open up Congress for the marginalized and underrepresented and those still developing their constituency. Ang nangyari ngayon sa ating party list system, hindi mo na siya masasabing para sa underrepresented at marginalized dahil ang party list system ngayon ay pinamamahayanan na ng mga dynasty contractors at celebrities. No? Kumbaga, ito na lang nga yung ibinigay para sa mahihirap, no? Para
Na
magkaroon ng
backdoor pa.
boses sa loob ng kamara, pinatos pa ng mga dynasties at contractor. So, paano umabot dyan? Kasi, tatlo ang problema dyan.
Salamat sa ruling ng isang justice pala.
Hindi, idol ko rin naman yung justice na yun. Pero, yun nga, eto, no? First, yung definition.
Yes.
No? Kasi there's a confusion between what is sectoral and proportional representation. Second, yung implementation. Yung RA 7941, the Party List Act of 1995, palpak. Nag-introduce, proportional siya. Pag proportional kasi, ibig sabihin, yung share ng
Yes.
vote ng partido, dapat yun din ang share of seats. No? Naglagay ng 3 seats na cap. No? So, hindi na proportional yun. So, madidistort ngayon yung resulta ng eleksyon. Kaya siya proportional dahil hindi siya katulad ng district na winner takes all, na first past the post. Halimbawa, kahit na paramihan lang ng boto, kuha mo na yung upuan. Nasasayang ngayon yung boto ng ibang tao. Sa proportional, lahat ng boto may patutunguhan. Naglagay ka ng 3 seats cap, nawala tuloy yun. Tapos, dapat kasi yan may floor, parang toll gate.
Okay.
Ang tawag ng threshold, 2%. Dapat, alimbawa, 100 yung partidong sumali doon, yung nakakuha lang ng 2%, sila lang ang ididistributan ng seats. Ang nangyayari ngayon, kahit hindi ka nakakuha ng 2%, lahat walang floor. So halimbawa, ikaw ay nanalo lang ng 300, 200 votes, pero umabot sa'yo yung bilang, may isa kang seat. Napakadali for a dynasty or a contractor to
Yes.
buy 200 votes, 300 votes.
Yes.
Tapos ang kapangyarihan ng isang party list representative, walang pinagkaiba doon
Correct.
sa perks and privileges ng isang district representative. Nakakakuha rin sila ng allocables.
Yung nagtatago nga ngayon, Prof, di ba? Oo,
di ba?
Ay party list
Oo,
representative.
Oo, di ba? So yun yung issue doon.
Pero
Ngayon,
ano pa yung pinapropose ninyo?
okay.
Pinuntahan
Kasi
nyo
yung
kanina?
pangatlong problema dyan, yung interpretation. Dahil nagka-problema, hinarap sa Supreme Court, kada desisyon ng Supreme Court nababago. So lalong lumabo. Ang fear ko kasi, pag pinayagan natin itong malabnaw na anti-political dynasty, matutulad yan doon sa party list. Na I'm sure magkakaroon yan ng controversy at may maghahain yan sa Supreme Court, mas lalo gugulo yung usapan. Di ba? Hindi pa ba tayo nadala? Di ba? Mas lalo... So, ang ano kasi dyan, ang tawag dyan sa social science, sa political science, path dependency. Kumbaga sa chess, yung first move mo will determine your end game. Di ba?
Buti pa sa ano kung galing-galing natin mag-amend ng mga batas.
Correct.
Hindi
Di ba?
naman.
Kung palpak sa umpisa, palpak yan hanggang sa dulo. So, yun ang kinakatakutan ko. Kung hahayaan na lang, sige, basta may maipasa na lang, pwede na yan. Hindi pwede yung pwede na yan dahil,
Better nothing at all.
mas okay pa nga yun dahil less harm. Di ba? Ano nga ba yung ethics no, sa do no harm? Di ba? Di ba?
First, do no harm.
First, do no harm. Di kung makakagulo lang, wag na lang. Di ba? Maghintay na lang tayo ng more progressive na administrasyon na magtutulak yan. Di ba? So, yun yung
Interesting.
thoughts ko. Ngayon, ano yung ipapalit? Well, dalawa kasi yan sa party list. No? Issue of representation. No? Kasi nga, obvious naman kaya nga binukod yung 20% dun sa 80%. Kasi yung 20% para sa mahihirap, para sa underrepresented, no? Ngayon, kung sasabihin mo yung 20%, para din sa mga contractors at sa mga iba't iba security sa mga ano yan, yung mga iba't ibang ano yung mga
Hindi
iba't
kailangan
ibang
maging miyembro ka ng sektor. Basta,
Tapos yung sabi pa hindi ka
yan.
no.
Yung interest nila, basta I support their interest.
Yung advocacy.
Oo.
Hindi.
So pag gusto niya ipagbawal na yun.
Actually, yun yung tinutulak natin. To address that, kailangan member ka ng sector, may record ka ng really working for that sector, di ba? Tapos yung sectoral organization nyo, more than 5 years ng nagtatrabaho dyan sa issue na yan. Hindi pwede yung advocacy lang or tapos pagre-resignin lahat ng nominee, papasok. Bawal na ang substitution
Grabe yun.
except for death or disqualification. Kasi yung withdrawal diyan nagsisimula yung
Yes.
yung bago. Tapos alam
Nadali
mo ba
tayo
na
dati dyan.
binebenta pa ang party list, no? Binebenta yan, no? May mga party list for rent, may party list for sale. So alisin yan. Alisin lahat yan, no? So yan, tapos meron pang isa yung yung manifest yung demonstration of work for the sector. Halimbawa, bago ka ma-renew, no, kailangan ipakita mo at least 50% ng iyong legislation nakapasa ka dun sa sector mo. At kasi marami dyan sector
Wala
ng
lang.
manggagawa, wala namang pinasang para sa manggagawa.
Representing security guards.
Wala. Di ba? Oo, di ba? So, yun, di ba? Yung
Magkaugnay itong dalawang to kasi ginagawang backdoor to pag
yes.
sobrang nakakahiya na.
Oo. Tapos yung isa pa kasi, dapat yung pag-ban sana sa dynasty, nandun na sa anti-dynasty, sa party list. Ang ginawa nila, hiniwalay nila, ang front and center ngayon nitong party list reform ni Speaker D ay yung ban on dynasties and contractor. Pero hindi yun yung essence kasi ng party list reform. Ang essence ng party list reform, isa lang yung representation. The other one is the issue of integration. How do you convert the votes into actual seats? Yung formula. It's a mathematical problem. No? Kasi karamihan din sa kaguluhan dito sa diskusyon sa party list ay dun sa paiba-ibang formula na ginagamit sa pag-convert ng seats, no? Yung 2% threshold or whatnot. Ngayon, masyadong komplikado yon, pero ang simple explanation, tanggalin mo yung 3-seat cap. So halimbawa, party A, no? Kung nakakuha ka ng 10% of the vote, 10 yung upuan mo or 5 yung upuan mo kung 2%, no, di ba? So dapat walang cap, no? Tapos, ang sasali lamang do sa distribution of seats, yung makakapasok sa threshold. Ngayon, yung threshold kasi, pag arbitrary 2%, 3%, sabi nila, mahirap yan, hindi kaya ng mga underrepresented groups. So, sige, gawin natin siyang changing. Nagbabago siya. So, halimbawa, kasi nagbabago rin yung number of party list seats Based yan, 20%
Yes.
of the district seats.
Yes.
Ang district seats mo nagbabago. Minsan may mga bagong
Yes, oo, may
distrito.
mga naghihiwalay ng
May
mga
nahiwalay, may nagsasama. So, ang gawin natin, ang divisor mo, yung number of party list seats, 100 divided by the party list seats, yun ang iyong threshold. Halimbawa, ngayon, 63 ang seats. 100 divided by 63 is 1.5. No? And 1.5 is a universally accepted threshold. From 1.5 up, depende sa bansa. May ibang bansa, 2. May ibang bansa, 3. May ibang bansa, 5. No? Depende yan. No? Sa atin, okay yun. 1.5. May mga makakapasok
Ang
na
joke
dyan.
nila, ano yun, mangkukulam, ay yung nakahati yung katawan, 1.5.
Yung manananggal.
Manananggal.
Oo.
Din, interesting yan, pero ibang topic.
Okay.
Para i-reserve natin
Sige.
for another topic.
Yes.
Sinabi ninyo dati na yung 2019 midterms ay talagang watershed moment
Yeah.
dahil nakita natin ng more than 32 candidates from talagang durable clans, ano?
Okay.
Estradas, Eusebius, Rodriguez, Ecleos,
Okay.
ay hindi sila nanalo.
Yes. Okay.
Tapos, mapunta natin itong yung mga dahilan kung bakit nag-fade ang mga dynasties.
yes.
Challenged and defeated by another dynasty.
Yeah.
Example mo ay sa Ilocos Sur, mga Eclosologos and Singsons.
Yeah.
Defeated by a non-dynasty.
Yeah.
May binigay kang examples. Ang mga D ay pinalo ng isang Grace Padaca.
Oh, but now they're back.
They're back. Oo. Si Among Ed Panlilio, ng Pampanga.
Yeah.
Si Arlene Cacabag-Aw, at least nandiyan pa rin.
Oo. Natalo, tapos bumalik.
Bumalik. Beset by intra-family competition.
Yeah.
Ang examples mo ay Binay sa Makati, although nandun pa rin sila, Abayas, and Aguinaldo in Cavite.
Right.
Overstaying in power or extended political base like the Estradas.
Estradas.
Okay. Pag ito bang mga failures na ito ay may sinusundan silang timeline?
Okay.
Kumbaga, may laurel kang binigay
Oo.
na nawala
Defunct.
talaga.
Yeah,
Oo.
oo.
Pero after many decades of being in power.
Yeah, oo. Yeah, kasi aside from the fat and thin classification, ako naman, on my own, part of my research in the Australian National University noong 2019, I developed my own typology. No? So, ang sa akin, dynastic cycles ang tawag ko dyan. No? Kasi after looking at the records and lahat ng dynasties sa Pilipinas, no? And I'm updating this study by the way, no? Yung I classified them into the durable. No, these are dynasties that have been with us since the Spanish and American
Yes.
colonial period. No, more than 50 years plus. Yung iba sa kanila 100 years. Like the Ortegas have
Yeah.
been consistently in power
Andiyan pa sila.
for more than a century already in La Union. No? So, or even the Aquinos have been there since the Spanish period. No, and then yan yung durable, no? And then yung dominant, these are the families that have recently emerged during the authoritarian years and during the post-EDSA period. So karamihan sa ating dynasties ngayon ay yung dominant dynasties. Ang isang example dyan, of course, are the Dutertes, no? Kasi yung father ni President Rodrigo Duterte was a minor cabinet member nung first Marcos administration and was the governor of the undivided Davao, no? Pero the Dutertes were just minor players during martial law, during the authoritarian period. In fact, the mother was even part
Yes.
of the anti-Marcos.
Dapat may term para sa ganyan, Nouveau dynasts.
Oo, yeah. Nouveau dynast. And then, of course, ironically, ang nagpasok pa sa kanila sa politika ay si Cory Aquino, no, during the Aquino years, no. And then the rest is history, no. So dominant sila. Then meron kasi mga dynasties na for some reason nawawala, natatalo, nasisipa, out of power, no. Pero they still have the resources to make a comeback. No? So for a time, the Marcoses were dormant, no. Pero ngayon dominant na uli sila, di ba? And then there was a time, at least in the last electoral cycle, walang Aquino sa gobyerno, no? Pero ngayon nakabalik na si Bam, no? So yun yung example ng dormant. And then the defunct, yung talagang totally nawala. Pero of course, hindi natin sure, baka in the future babalik. And ang primary example yan, mga laurels, no? Wala nang laurels because the next generation of laurels focus on either diplomacy, nasa foreign service, ambassadors and the like, or yung family business nila ngayon, which is education, di ba, yung lyceum. So, and banking. So, wala nang laurel muna sa politika ngayon. So, pwede mo sabihing defunct, no? Pero mas marami pa rin yung dominant and durable, no? Now, why do they disappear? Well, noong 2019, nakita kasi natin yung highest percentage ng natalo at mga sikat na dynasty. So, akala natin pabagsak na. Kaso, nung next electoral cycle, noong 2022, nag-unite yung dalawang pinakamalaking dynasty, the House of Duterte and the House of Marcos, the Kingdom of the North, Kingdom of the South. Naging nexus siya, naging coordinating nexus at nag-unite uli lahat ng local dynasty. Kaya, noong 2022, nagbalikan lahat sila. Pero nitong 2025, nakita natin marami sa kanilang natalo na naman dahil nga nag-split ang unity. So,
At ito'y pagkakataon na.
yes. Kaya meron tayong window of opportunity to really push for all of these reforms because there is a polarization within the ruling elite. No? So, intra-elite competition. And this is the perfect opportunity for the people to push for reforms.
Perfect opportunity rin para magpasalamat sa inyo.
Thank you.
Professor Julio
Thank you,
Teangkis. Naku, ang dami
Thank
ko
you.
pang gusto itanong. Pwede bang gawin natin pwedeng 4 hours, 5 hours kay Dean Teangki pag mga ganitong topic?
Yes.
Wala pa nga ako doon sa isang pero
Babalik na lang ako.
babalik
Okay.
na lang. All right. The pride of De La Salle University, Professor Julio Teangki. Advance happy birthday, sir.
December pa.
December ba? Advance pa rin yun. Kala kasi nila July sa pinanganak.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Professor Teangki.
Thank you.
All right. Political Beat will be right back after this very quick break. On a normal day, all you needed to paralyze EDSA is a single stock vehicle and an old lady watering the plants on the sidewalks of the Shaw underpass. Now, there are more than 10,000 people rendering the highway more impassable than usual, as well as the hundreds of angry Facebook posts. What is currently happening in EDSA is not new. Throwback to August 28, 2015, when the religious group mobilized to protest the DOJ through the NBI's investigation involving a top-level leadership struggle. When the Justice Department refused to go easy on the probe, the group cried government meddling in its internal affairs and demanded the separation of church and state. INC members claimed that the DOJ, led by Justice Secretary Leila de Lima, was persecuting their church. A 2,000-strong vigil in front of the DOJ headquarters in Padre Faura in Manila on August 27 soon moved to EDSA, flexing with numbers big enough to make Malacanang crap its pants and make Metro Manilans rethink their schedules for the next 3 days. Every administration speaks confidently about the rule of law, but Philippine history suggests otherwise. Here, the true map of power is revealed. Every so often, an institution reminds Malacanang that its authority is never absolute. The Iglesia ni Cristo has become one of those institutions. Democracies are ultimately judged not by how forcefully they wield power, but how consistently they apply that power. In any other case, choking EDSA without permits and blocking off lanes with buses would have been considered an act of terrorism. But this time, it's all maximum tolerance, it's all freedom of expression. But every administration, Aquino, Duterte, Marcos, etc., regardless of ideology or rhetoric, has behaved almost identically. The INC has become one of those rare institutions that exposes the actual limits of state power. When every government discovers the same blind spot, the question ceases to be whether the government is powerless. The question now becomes, in the Philippines, where does real power lie? And that's the word of the Lord for tonight and the political beat for this Tuesday, the last day of June. I'm Lourdes Vera. Enjoy the rest of your evening, unless you're passing through EDSA.